Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, time, please, everybody. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. A little louder if possible. Everybody, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Oh, so much louder. Time, please. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare
Hare Krishna devotees, Pita Sama humble obeisances of Guru Prabhupada. Welcome devotees to our evening Bhagavad Gita circle reading. This evening we will be continuing with the chapter entitled The Universal Form, and we will continue from Bhagavad Gita chapter 11 verse 47. It will be read and explained to us by His Grace Balabhadra Bhattacharya Prabhu. Hare Krishna Prabhu, please accept my humble obeisances. All Guru Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, accept my obeisances, all glory to Srila Prabhupada.
Yeah, and it's all yours, Prabhu.
Thank you. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gaudavana Pacharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desatadine Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sadi Gaur Bhaktivinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 11, text 47. Shri Bhagavanu Vacha, Maya Prasannena Tavarjanedam, Rupam Param Darshitam Atma Yogat, Tejo Mayam Vishwam Anantamadhyam, Yanme Twaranyena Nadrishtapurvam. Supreme Personality of Godhead said, my dear Arjuna, happily have I shown you by my internal potency this supreme universal form within the material world. No one before you has ever seen this primal form, unlimited and full of glaring effulgence. Purport. Arjuna wanted to see the universal form of the Supreme Lord, so Lord Krishna, out of his mercy upon his devotee Arjuna, showed his universal form, full of effulgence and opulence. This form was glaring like the sun, and its many faces were rapidly changing. Krishna showed this form just to satisfy the desire of his friend Arjuna. This form was manifested by Krishna through his internal potency, which is inconceivable by human speculation. No one had seen this universal form of the Lord before Arjuna, but because the form was shown to Arjuna, other devotees in the heavenly planets and in other planets in outer space could also see it. They had not seen it before, but because of Arjuna, they were able to see it. In other words, all the disciplic devotees of the Lord could see the universal form, which was shown to Arjuna by the mercy of Krishna. Someone has commented that this form was shown to Duryodhana also when Krishna went to Duryodhana to negotiate for peace. Unfortunately, Duryodhana did not accept the peace offer. But at that time, Krishna manifested some of his universal forms. But those forms are different from this one shown to Arjuna. It is clearly said that no one had ever seen this form before. Text 48. Naveda yagya yanayar nadanayar nacha kriyat bhir na tapo bir ugrai. Oops. Pages are sticking together there. Evam rupa sakya aham riloke drastum tvad anyena kuru pravira. O best of the Kuru warriors, no one before you has ever seen this universal form of mine. For neither by studying the Vedas, nor by performing sacrifices, nor by charity, nor by pious activities, nor by severe penances can I be seen in this form in the material world. Purport: the divine vision in this connection should be clearly understood. Who can have divine vision? Divine means godly. Unless one attains the status of divinity as a demigod, he cannot have divine vision. And what is a demigod? It is stated in the Vedic scriptures that those who are devotees of Lord Vishnu are demigods. Vishnu bhakto smito devaha. Those who are atheistic, i.e., who do not believe in Vishnu, or who recognize only the impersonal part of Krishna as the supreme, cannot have divine vision. It is not possible to decry Krishna and at the same time have the divine vision. One cannot have the divine vision without becoming divine. In other words, those who have divine vision can also see like Arjuna. The Bhagavad Gita gives the description of the universal form, although this description was unknown to everyone before Arjuna. Now one can have some idea of the Vishwarupa after this incident. Those who are actually divine can see the universal form of the Lord, but one cannot be divine without being a pure devotee of Krishna. The devotees, however, who are actually in the divine nature and who have divine vision are not very much interested in seeing the universal form of the Lord. As described in the previous verse, Arjuna desired to see the four-handed form of Lord Krishna as Vishnu, and he was actually afraid of the universal form. In this verse, there are some significant words, just like Veda, Yagyadaya, Nai, which refers to studying Vedic literature and the subject matter of sacrificial regulations. Veda refers to all kinds of Vedic literature, such as the four Vedas, Rig, Yajur, Sama, and Atharva, and the 18 Puranas, the Upanishads, and the Vedanta Sutra. One can study these at home or anywhere else. Similarly, there are sutras, Kalpa Sutras and Mimamsa Sutras, for studying the method of sacrifice. Dhanai refers to charity, which is offered to a suitable party, such as those who are engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. The Brahmanas and the Vaishnavas. Similarly, pious activities refers to the Agnihotra and the prescribed duties of the different castes. And the voluntary acceptance of some bodily pains is called tapasya. So one can perform all these, can accept bodily penances, give charity, study the Vedas, etc. But unless he is a devotee like Arjuna, it is not possible to see that universal form. Those who are impersonalists are also imagining that they are seeing the universal form of the Lord. But from Bhagavad Gita, we understand that the impersonalists are not devotees. Therefore, they are unable to see the universal form of the Lord. There are many persons who create incarnations. They falsely claim an ordinary human to be an incarnation. But this is all foolishness. We should follow the principles of Bhagavad Gita. Otherwise, there is no possibility of attaining perfect spiritual knowledge. Although Bhagavad Gita is considered the preliminary study of the science of God, still, it is so perfect that it enables one to distinguish what is what. The followers of a pseudo-incarnation may say that they have also seen the transcendental incarnation of God, the universal form, but that is unacceptable because it is clearly stated here that unless one becomes a devotee of Krishna, one cannot see the universal form of God. So one, first of all, has to become a pure devotee of Krishna. Then he can claim that he can show the universal form of what he has seen. A devotee of Krishna cannot accept false incarnations or followers of false incarnations. Text 49. Mate vyatabma cha vimuda bhavo dristva rupam goram idrim medam vyapeta viprita mana punastvam tareva me rupam idam prapasya. You have been perturbed and bewildered by seeing this horrible feature of mine. Now let it be finished. My devotee, be free again from all disturbances. With a peaceful mind, you can now see the form you desire. Purport. In the beginning of Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna was worried about killing Bhishma and Drona, his worshipful grandfather and master. But Krishna said that he need not be afraid of killing his grandfather. When the sons of Dhritarashtra tried to disrobe Draupadi in the assembly of the Kurus, Bhishma and Drona were silent, and for such negligence of duty, they should be killed. Krishna showed his universal form to Arjuna just to show him that these people were already killed for their unlawful action. That scene was shown to Arjuna because devotees are always peaceful, and they cannot perform such horrible actions. The purpose of the revelation of the universal form was shown. The purpose of the revelation of the universal form was shown. Now, Arjuna wanted to see the four-armed form, and Krishna showed him. A devotee is not much interested in the universal form, for it does not enable one to reciprocate loving feelings. Either a devotee wants to offer his respectful, worshipful feelings, or he wants to see the two-handed Krishna form so that he can reciprocate in loving service with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Hari Bol. Text 50. Sanjaya uvacha ityarjunam vasudevastatoktva swakam rupam darshayam asya bhuya asvasyajam asya cha bhitam enam bhutva puna saumya vapur mahatma. Sanjaya said to Dhritarashtra, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, having spoken thus to Arjuna, displayed his real four-armed form and at last showed his two-armed form, thus encouraging the fearful Arjuna. Purport. When Krishna appeared as the son of Vasudeva and Devaki, he first of all appeared as four-armed Narayan, but he was requested by his parents. Let me do that again. I'm laughing because I've just, before this class, finished reading that section of the Krishna book. That's why it's kind of humorous to me right now. When Krishna appeared as the son of Vasudeva and Devaki, he first of all appeared as four-armed Narayan. But when he was requested by his parents, he transformed himself into an ordinary child in appearance. Similarly, Krishna knew that Arjuna was not interested in seeing a four-handed form. But since Arjuna asked to see this four-handed form, Krishna also showed him this form again, and then showed himself in his two-handed form. The word Saumya Vapu is very significant. Saumya Vapu is a very beautiful form. It is known as the most beautiful form. When he was present, everyone was attracted simply by Krishna's form. And because Krishna is the director of the universe, he just banished the fear of Arjuna, his devotee, and showed him again his beautiful form of Krishna. In the Brahma Samhita 538, it is stated, Premanjana Charita Bhakti Vilochanena Only a person whose eyes are smeared with the ointment of love can see the beautiful form of Krishna. Text 51. Arjuna uvacha dvisteham manyasam rupam tava samyam janardana idanim asmi samrita sacheta prakritim gataha. When Arjuna thus saw Krishna in his original form, he said, O Janardana, seeing this human-like form so very beautiful, I am now composed in mind, and I am restored to my original nature. Purport. Here the words Manusham, Rupam, clearly indicate the Supreme Personality of Godhead to be originally two-handed. Those who deride Krishna as if he were an ordinary person are shown here to be ignorant of his divine nature. If Krishna is like an ordinary human being, then how is it possible for him to show the universal form and again to show the four-handed Narayan form? So it is very clearly stated in Bhagavad Gita that one who thinks that Krishna is an ordinary person and who misguides the reader by claiming that it is the impersonal Brahman within Krishna speaking is doing the greatest injustice. Krishna has actually shown his universal form and his four-handed Vishnu form. So how can he be an ordinary human being? A pure devotee is not confused by misguiding commentaries on Bhagavad Gita because he knows what is what. The original verses of Bhagavad Gita are as clear as the sun. They do not require lamp light from foolish commentators. Text 52. Wow. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Sudur Dasham Idam Rupam Drishtavam Asiyan Mama Deva Apyasya Rupasya Nityam Darshana Kankshina. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, my dear Arjuna, this form of mine you are now seeing is very difficult to behold. Even the demigods are ever seeking the opportunity to see this form, which is so dear. Purport. In the 48th verse of this chapter, Lord Krishna concluded, revealing his universal form, and informed Arjuna that this form is not possible to be seen by so many pious activities, sacrifices, etc. Now, here the word Sudur Darsham is used, indicating that Krishna's two-handed form is still more confidential. One may be able to see the universal form of Krishna by adding a little tinge of devotional service to various activities like penances, Vedic study, and philosophical speculation. It may be possible, but without a tinge of bhakti, one cannot see. That has already been explained. Still, beyond that universal form, the form of Krishna with two hands is still more difficult to see, even for demigods like Brahma and Lord Shiva. They desire to see him. And we have evidence in the Srimad Bhagavatam that when he was supposed to be in the womb of his mother, Devaki, all the demigods from heaven came to see the marvel of Krishna. And they offered nice prayers to the Lord, although he was not at that time visible to them. They waited to see him. A foolish person may deride him, thinking him an ordinary person, and may offer respect to him, but to the impersonal something within him. But these are all nonsensical postures. Krishna in his two-armed form is actually desired to be seen by demigods like Brahma and Shiva. In Bhagavad Gita 9:11, it is also confirmed, Avajananti mam mudha manushim tanumashritam. He is not visible to the foolish persons who deride him. Krishna's body, as confirmed by Brahma Samhita and confirmed by Krishna himself in Bhagavad Gita, is completely spiritual and full of bliss and eternality. His body is never like a material body. But for some who make a study of Krishna by reading Bhagavad Gita or similar Vedic scriptures, Krishna is a problem. For one using a material process, Krishna is considered to be a great historical personality and very learned philosopher. But he is an ordinary man. And even though he was so powerful, he had to accept the material body. Ultimately, they think that the absolute truth is impersonal. Therefore, they think that from his impersonal feature, he assumed a personal feature attached to material nature. This is a materialistic calculation of the Supreme Lord. Another calculation is speculative. Those who are in search of the knowledge, those who are in search of knowledge also speculate on Krishna and consider him to be less important than the universal form of the Supreme. Thus, some think that the universal form of Krishna, which was manifested to Arjuna, is more important than his personal form. According to them, the personal form of the Supreme is something imaginary. They believe that in the ultimate issue, the absolute truth is not a person, but the transcendental process is described in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, to hear about Krishna from authorities. That is the actual Vedic process. And those who are actually in the Vedic line hear about Krishna from authority. And by repeated hearing about him, Krishna becomes dear. As we have several times discussed, Krishna is covered by his Yogamaya potency. He is not to be seen or revealed to anyone and everyone. Only by one to whom he reveals himself can he be seen. This is confirmed in the Vedic literature. For one who is a surrendered soul, the absolute truth can actually be understood. The transcendentalist, by continuous Krishna consciousness and by devotional service to Krishna, can have his spiritual eyes opened and can see Krishna by revelation. Such a revelation is not possible even for the demigods. Therefore, it is difficult even for the demigods to understand Krishna. And the advanced demigods are always in hope of seeing Krishna in his two-handed form. The conclusion is that although to see the universal form of Krishna is very, very difficult and not possible for anyone and everyone, it is still more difficult to understand his personal form as Shamsundar. Haribol, so I'll stop there.
Thank you so much, Prabhu, for such a wonderful reading. And as you're reading, I was telling my daughter, as you're reading, it is so much like storytelling because you went up and down with your voice, and it was like, wow, it was very catching. Thank you so much, Prabhu, for actually reading it in that way and catching our attention. I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
Would like to ask devotees if you have any questions, any comments or clarification, please, you can either raise your hand or you can just jump right in. I have a question, Prabhu. This is the first time, I think, because this mind is, so crazy, that I see Srila Prabhupada differentiating demigods and advanced demigods.
Or where was that in the purport? I think we might have just read it, didn't we?
The fourth line from the bottom.
Fourth line from the bottom.
1152, yeah, where he says, therefore it is difficult even for the demigods to understand Krishna and the advanced demigods.
Yeah. Let's look at that again. And the advanced demigods, such a revelation is not possible even for the demigods. Number one. Therefore, it is difficult even for the demigods to understand Krishna. And the advanced demigods are always in hope. Yeah, so it's not like you become a demigod and that's the end of the story. Because those who don't make further advancement, when Brahma goes back to Godhead, they don't go back to Godhead. They have to make further advancement. So becoming a demigod is very nice. It's like becoming a devotee, follower of Srila Prabhupada is very nice. But that doesn't mean that you will advance more. You might just come to a certain level. You never lose whatever level you have, but you may not progress further unless you follow the process outlined by Srila Prabhupada, and then we all follow that, and by the acharyas, because Guru Shastra Sadhu. Then we make further advancement. Some devotees, disciples of Srila Prabhupada, could not understand who Prabhupada was, and they left the movement. They left. When they heard Prabhupada say certain things like, man didn't go to the moon, that just didn't jive with their vision of life, and they left Srila Prabhupada. Many, not many, but quite a few have left. So even though Prabhupada's right in front of them, and I think I told the story before, I met this person on Sankirtan one day, And he told me that I used to be Prabhupada's secretary. Now, at that time, I hadn't read the Lilamrita and I hadn't read the letters, so I didn't really know who he was. I later on found out exactly who he was. So he was Prabhupada's secretary at one point. And then he started criticizing Prabhupada. And I was young, gifted, and black. Okay, I was just this young, powerful little guy. And I was ready to punch him, even though he was in the past Prabhupada's secretary, but he began to criticize Prabhupada. So here's this man who was Prabhupada's secretary and couldn't understand how exalted Srila Prabhupada was, basically challenging Srila Prabhupada's understanding through his own understanding. So it doesn't mean just because we put on a nice dhoti and tilak and kurta and sari and all those things that we're going to be, we're going to make more progress. If we don't follow the system, Prabhupada said, if you don't follow, again, you become hippie. He told the devotees, again, you become hippie. Whatever you were doing before, you go back and do that again. So we have to be so careful. Every step we take, we have to be so careful to follow the system. So then we make further progress. So what happens when we make further progress? Well, now let's stop for a second. Back up a little bit. This idea of making progress is not something that we can do personally. It's by Krishna's grace only. The progress we make is by Krishna's Dadami Buddhi Yogam, right? We get knowledge, we study the books, like Prabhupada said right here. You do the study of the Vedas, you do austerity, all those things are really good. But if you don't become a devotee, it's useless. You have to become a devotee. You're not going to become a devotee just by studying all the Vedic literatures. That's why Srila Prabhupada did not encourage us to spend all that time. You can read, like he said here, you can read these books at home or you can read them somewhere else. It's fine, no problem. But if you don't become a devotee, so it's imperative, incumbent upon us to understand how to become a devotee. And we were just discussing this in our Bhagavad Gita reading yesterday, 12th chapter Bhagavad Gita. That's where we are. And 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Each one of those verses, Krishna says at the end, bhakti, what is it? Bhakti, so priya. He keeps saying priya, dear to me. By doing this, you become dear to me. Each one of those verses ends almost the same way. One who is a kind friend to all living beings, dear to me. One who is not disturbed by the ordinary course of activity, dear to me. This is on and on and on. Krishna, and we say, Krishna's giving an outline how to please him. Okay, he's telling you, do this and you please me. Then you make more progress. But you have to realize that the progress you're making is by Krishna's grace. He's giving us that realization, the Dhammi Buddhi Yogam. So when we think, I'm going to see Krishna, well, if Krishna allows you to see him, Arjuna's right there on the chariot and couldn't see it. He's like, where is it? And Krishna says, you can't see it with those eyes. I give you divine vision. Now you can see. So Srila Prabhupada reaffirmed that in the last verses we were just reading. People could not see the universal form without that divine vision. What is that divine vision? Becoming a pure devotee of the Lord. Then you can see. But then the Lord, sometimes he doesn't want you to see. Like with Yashoda, when she's looking in Krishna's mouth. He didn't really want her to see. He said, okay, mommy, if you don't believe me, all right, look and see. Okay, go ahead and look. And she looked, wow. And then immediately closed his mouth again. Because he wanted her to be in that beautiful Yogamaya. It's what she's thinking of him as the son. And Prabhupada says, everyone is praising Krishna, glorifying Krishna. Krishna said, I'm a little tired of that. I want to be chastised. I want mommy to treat me like her baby. And that loving feeling comes out again. Oh my God. It's just amazing. So the demigods, it's a nice platform, but if you don't make further progress, then you stay on that platform to the heavenly planets. And then when the pious activities run out, you come back to this world again, no problem. Or you progress further, and you progress further. And ultimately, you can go back home, back to Godhead. The demigods, as Srila Prabhupada just described, yes, they came before Krishna appeared. That's the chapter in the Krishna book. Prayers by the demigods for Krishna within the womb. So Krishna had not come yet, but they were just praying to him. So many beautiful prayers. Like I said, I just read that part. So it's just like, so beautiful, the prayers. that they were making to Krishna, preparing for him to come. So yes, not all demigods are on the same level. I guess that's the main point, okay? So I think, Preacher, do you have your hand up there?
Yes, go ahead.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. I meant to comment how beautiful your shirt is. I like that. His jacket or shirt, whatever. It looks so nice.
It's a shit. Got you, Papa.
Haribo.
So, in describing, in text 50, if it can be
Yes,
taken there. In text 50, I'm going to wait for you to.
I got it. Go for it.
So, it says in the purport, Srila Prabhupada is saying, Krishna appears as his 400 Narayan. Then he was requested by the parents to transform himself into an ordinary child, two-handed form at that point. Similarly, Krishna knew Arjuna was not interested in seeing the 400 form. But then, towards in the middle, it says, the word Samyavapu is very significant. Samyavapu is a very beautiful form. Is known as the most beautiful form. Then my mind started saying, okay, so Krishna came as a four-handed or four-armed Narayan. That's not considered beautiful?
Beautiful, but not most beautiful. He's beautiful, but not the most beautiful. That's why his form is the most beautiful form. There's nothing that can compare. There's a famous song that this lady, I forget her name now, Sinead O'Connor, yeah. She says, nothing compares to you. That's the theme of the song. So nothing compares to Krishna, nothing. And then, it's so beautiful, Lord Shiva. And where is that? Fourth canto? I believe it's fourth canto. Chanting the song sung by Lord Shiva. And Lord Shiva describes Krishna's form. He says, it's just like raindrops glistening. And I visualize it every time I read that, because I remember being a young kid, I loved the rain. And when the sun would hit the rain, like you see sometimes in the movies, like sparkles. So Lord Shiva was saying Krishna's form is like that, like raindrops glistening. And I was like, that is just amazing. So that is Krishna. Of course, Vishnu is beautiful, no question of it, in his beautiful four-handed form. But Krishna is the most. So here's the thing. The four qualities that are exclusive to Krishna that Vishnu doesn't have, one of those qualities is his exquisite beauty, unmatched, and his childhood pastimes. Vishnu doesn't have childhood pastimes. Krishna has childhood pastimes, but he has that, and Krishna's surrounded by devotees endowed with love of God. But he has that beautiful form even. So the 64 qualities, Vishnu has up to 60. And then Krishna has 4 more that no one else has, even Vishnu doesn't have. So that beauty is the one that distinguishes Krishna. It's so beautiful. Now, I'm talking like I know something about it. But, we have to speak something. And we see the beautiful, like I have this beautiful bead bag. I'm looking at it right now. And Krishna, I wish I could show it to you guys. Let's see. I just love this bead bag. It may not show up on the camera properly, but let's see if there it is. You see it? I bought this from a devotee in Atlanta. When I saw it, I just fainted. I said, oh my God, look at that picture. And I keep it right in front of me in my little studio here. And it's just beautiful. So we get some idea, based on our limited little whatever we have, we get some idea. Luckily, Srila Prabhupada spent time elaborating on the beautiful activities and features of Krishna. That's why we have the Krishna book. And my little habit is every month before Janmashtami, I start reading the Krishna book again. So I just started a couple of days ago, and I try to read the whole Krishna book before Janmashtami. It's just so beautiful, And in the old days, quote unquote, the old days, the temple president made sure, especially for the grihastas, every night, all the grihastas had to come together with hot milk and read Krishna book every night without fail. And I was so tricky that there's one pastime in the Krishna book, devouring the forest fire or devastating forest. I think it's devouring the forest fire. It's only about 1.5 pages. I memorized every word. So I would, when I was a brahmachari, I'd sit up at the top of the stairs of the ashram and devotees would gather around. They were just mystified. Wow, the Bhadra knows this whole pastime. And I would just recite it night after night, night after night. It was just so amazing. So Krishna's beauty, Krishna's transcendental activities are something amazing. And we have been blessed to be guided into those pastimes by Srila Prabhupada. That's why he took the time to jump to the 10th canto and give us the Krishna book, because he knew he wouldn't live long enough. He had a sense that he wouldn't live long enough to finish. One of the reasons was he had so many headaches coming from the movement, from the leaders not following everything he wanted. Prabhupada wanted to retire and just focus on translating, but he knew it's not going to happen in his lifetime. So he jumped ahead to do the Krishna book. And then George Harrison paid the money to have it printed. And Prabhupada was so happy when that Krishna book came out. I believe it was shown at a Rath Yatra or something like that. Because had he not done that and left it up to us, because even in the translations of the 10th canto that Hridayananda Maharaj and Gopi Purananda did, they refer back to Prabhupada's Krishna book, okay? They don't just go out on a limb trying to explain all these things. They go back to the Krishna book, which is so important. So we're lucky we have the Krishna book. So I highly recommend, in preparing our consciousness for Janmashtami, take some time, and if you're already reading, that's fantastic. If you're not, take some time and read the Krishna book and just get absorbed in this ecstasy, the wonderful pastimes of Krishna. Yes. So, Parikshit Prabhu, yes, Vishnu is beautiful, but Krishna is more beautiful. And that's explained by those 4 qualities that no one else has but Krishna. So nice.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prabhu.
That was a very nice question. Thank you.
You're very nice.
Yeah, perfect.
No, I was going to say, just like my shirt is nice, but your shirt is nicer.
We don't compare like that.
So Vishnu is nice, but Krishna is nicer, more beautiful.
That was a very nice question. Thank you. I'd like to ask devotees, have any other questions, any thoughts? There's something, from Dear Krishna, he says, Krishna book is just from Goloka. The more you read it, you get more attracted and dedicated to Krishna. Yes.
That's beautiful. Nice. I love that.
That's nice.
Very nice comment.
It's really beautiful. Thank you for that comment and sharing that, Dear Krishna.
Addicted to Krishna.
Yes, that is Dear Krishna. Yeah, that's very nice. Thank you for sharing. Any questions from devotees? Any thoughts? Any, add-ons? Any clarification? It's so nice that we do this. In fact, Prabhu, as you were mentioning about the hot milk and Krishna book, immediately I remember when we first moved to Gita Nagari in 95. I don't know if my husband remembers that, but when we used to go to the temple every evening for prasadam, devotees would sit around and have hot milk, and we used to read. I forgot what we were reading, but they were just 2-3 devotees, not a big group. Yeah. And it was just a bucket of hot milk. And we would just drink the hot milk and we would read. But it was really...
You remember, huh?
The hot milk, I remember.
Because it was hot cow's milk. It was so sweet. Just 2-3. It doesn't have to be group.
Exactly. Exactly.
It was so sweet. It was so sweet, But yeah, as you're mentioning, that went flashback. Thank you so much.
Gitanagari was a relief from the hustle and bustle of city life.
Yes. Yes.
Getting away from it. Nice.
It was really nice. Very sweet.
How long did you stay there?
21 years.
21 years at Gitanagari?
Yes, 95 to 2006, 2016.
That's beautiful. That's so nice. You're so fortunate. I mean, the deities, what are the deities at Gitanagari?
Radha Damodar.
Those are my first Radha Krishna deities.
Oh, okay.
You have to read the whole story. They were first pretty much installed in Atlanta with Vishnu John Swami. Not as the Atlanta deities, but for him to use for preaching. So when I first started coming to the temple, and I'm trying to remember after I moved in or just around that time, we had 2 Mangal Artis. Mangal Arti on the bus with Radha Damodar and Mangal Arti in the temple room. It was amazing. So I remember Damodar's face like, oh, I can't even tell you how that, he has that sharpness about his chin. There's something about his chin, like this, such a sweet face.
And it's
when I was-
bluish. It has a bluish
Yeah.
tinge.
I mean, as a
Yes.
guy coming from the, from the hood, from the nightclubs and all, and then seeing that, wow. And when I finally went to Gita Nagari a couple of years ago, and I saw him again after not seeing him since 1973 or so, it blew me away. And they take care of the deities so nice there. Gita Nagari is so beautiful. So, Radha Damodar.
In fact, I remember reading that pastime, Prabhu, that you're mentioning in Radha Damodar Vilas.
Yes.
That book,
Yes.
I mean, that book, it was so powerful. You start reading, you just can't put it down.
And it tells the pastime how we went to jail. I'm so happy they included Vyasaki, I think.
Yes.
So that pastime of us going to jail with Vishnu John Swami is mentioned there, which was amazing. That was excellent. I was not even living in the temple. I'm just coming to the temple. And the first Harinam that I went to jail with Vishnu John Swami. So it's just amazing.
And if I'm not mistaken, Prabhu, I think Vishnu John Swami was so positive when he was in jail.
Oh,
Like he was just chanting the whole time. If I remember correctly, because I read that book by Vyasaki Prabhu, he was just chanting and he was preaching to the jailers and to the cops in the jailhouse. He was hilarious.
I was there. So what happened was there was about 35, I forget the number, 35, 40 devotees on Harinam. And I remember seeing Vishnu John coming because he wasn't there when we first started. So he came like that and just like this angel. Then he was chanting and chanting. And then the cops came, they used to call it a paddy wagon, which is a big thing, and they put everybody in it. So they threw us all in there. And he never stopped chanting, not even 1 second. And then I believe he had cartels and they took those away from him. He still didn't stop chanting. So when we finally got into jail, when they booked us all in, which he never stopped chanting, he sat down on the floor, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, gave Bhagavatam class in the jail, which was amazing. So then my ex-wife came and got me out from the jail. And I said, I don't want to leave. I want to stay with him. I want to stay with him, But it was amazing, absolutely amazing. Yeah. But that was my first Harinam. Huh?
I think I have a copy of that book. I'm trying to remember. There's Radha Damodar Vilas. Yeah. Powerful, powerful book. But yeah, Radha Damodar actually is also the first deities that I dressed and I worshipped in Gita Nagari after I got my Brahmin.
Wow. So fortunate.
They were amazing, amazing, especially the bluish tinge on Krishna's face. I'll share a quick pastime, Prabhu. We had a fire in Gita Nagari. I forgot which year it was. I'm sure my husband can remember, I think. And the chimney caught on fire. So we had to rescue the deities. And, devotees, the pujaris were just taking whatever deity of the temple. And if I'm not mistaken, I think Damodar is 40 pounds, I believe, and Radharani is 80. I know she was heavy. Yes, Prabhu. She is solid. Radharani is solid. Even to dress her was like, you got to beg up. Can you please turn so I can put the skirt on you? But anyway, so it was intense. And when the fire broke out on the chimney and devotees had to, put the fire out, and Parikshit was trying to help the pujaris get the deities off. And I think he was either carrying Damodar or Radharani, and he was running.
Damodar.
Wow. 40 pounds. Parikshit said that he weighed like
in his mouth.
Oh my God.
And he's like 4 feet tall, I think, or 3 feet tall.
Like
not that tall. No.
It's like 3 feet, right?
3 feet. He's about 3 feet.
Two.
I mean, with the base. I mean, he wasn't, And Parikshit just carried him with the flute in his hand and put him in the car. And he said that when he ran with Damodar, he was as light as a feather.
He didn't feel that heavy.
Wow.
But he's 40 pounds. I know that because I used to dress them for about 10 years. And I think my other god sister she carried Radharani because she was 80 pounds. It was really an amazing pastime. So much pastime with Radha Damodar on the altar.
See, this is the wonderful thing. We're thinking of Krishna in his deity form, in his pastimes. That's the purpose of life. It really is. So that's going to give us the energy for having a beautiful evening and maybe getting some nice rest and maybe thinking of Krishna. And it's just, wow. So again, this is the time between now and Janmashtami. We just have to concentrate even more.
Yeah.
So I ask this question all the time to myself and to others. How much do we actually talk about Krishna during the day? We talk about the philosophy, we talk about projects, all these things we talk about, but what about Krishna, the personality of Godhead and his activities? So here's a chance to sort of accelerate that, because the more we think of Krishna, specifically his activities, his pastimes, talk about them, share back and forth, make them, did you say it maybe earlier, honestly, it's like real. These things become real to us. This
becomes very real, Prabhu.
Yeah, this is real. This is not some thing, we're talking about religion and no, this is, Prabhupada said it in the purport, didn't he? Or did it in Krishna? I'm losing where he said it. But trying to see Krishna as a historical figure. Yeah, he said something we read here. Trying to see Krishna, many people see him as a historical figure. I read one time it said, Krishna, a black Aborigine lusty prince. That's how they see him. They know he was there.
Offense.
Yeah, but I'm saying they know he was there, but they see him as, like Prabhupada said here in one of the purports, he was intelligent, he was powerful, he was he was chasing the girls, the milk maidens. That's all they can see, because the impersonalists cannot wrap their mind around the supreme absolute truth coming as a personal form. So therefore, when the Supreme comes like that, that form is Maya. That's how they see it. They cannot understand that form, that little, beautiful little child. Everything is there. So that's why he showed the universal form. And in fact, the pastime, the birth of Lord Krishna, when he came in his four-armed form, and all the decorations and all the jewelry and all this and that, Prabhupada explains in the purport, he did that to convince Devaki and Vasudeva that I am the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That's why he came like that, to convince them, because he said otherwise they would not have believed it. So he came with this grandiose form so they could say, oh my God, this is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You need to change. You need to do something different. Kamsa is going to find out. He's going to try to kill you. He killed all your brothers before you. But Prabhupada said he came like that to convince them that I am the Supreme Personality of God. You prayed for me, Prishni, and what was it before? Sutapa and Prishni. You prayed for me to be your son. Okay, I'm coming. But Prabhupada said they would not have believed it. So Krishna came four hands. He said, what child comes decorated? Come on. Right, understood? Did your girls come out decorated? I don't think so.
No, Prabhu.
Brenda came out with jewels on. I'm sorry.
No, Prabhu. Brenda was quiet when she came out. Vishaka screamed when she came out.
But Krishna came out fully decorated. Think about this. Just stop. All right, let me stop before I go crazy. Just think about it. This is not a joke. It's real. So unless we begin to see it as real, it'll just be nice philosophy. And we'll learn it. We'll memorize some things. We'll talk about it. But it won't excite us. Okay? If I know right now that the most respected musician in my life was knocking on my door downstairs, man, I get excited. This is a very simple story. One famous newscaster in Atlanta, this lady, Brenda Woods, you can look her up. She was famous, even nationally famous. Brenda Woods, one of the first African-American female news reporters in Atlanta. One day, I'm in my office as temple president. Guess who knocks on the door? Brenda Wood. I freaked out. Brenda Wood is knocking on my office door. She was trying to find the leader of the temple because she wanted to do an interview. She did an interview with me, walked around the temple in the temple room. I said, I'm walking next to Brenda Wood. I was so excited. You got it? So we have Krishna with us right here. Are we excited? You know why we're not excited? Because we don't understand it yet. You know why we don't understand it yet? Because we're not doing enough service with love. Bhajitam pratipurvakam. The secret is serving with love. Then you get the understanding. Only by, what is that verse, Preacher? Bhaktya tonanya sakya aham evam arjuna gatum justum tatatvaina pravestum ta pa cha parantapa. So only by this undivided devotional service can I be understood. Krishna's saying. You can't see me without devotional service. You can speculate the rest of eternity, but unless you do devotional service, Krishna said, you can't see me. But when you do devotional service, then he gives us that Dadami Buddha Yoga, that understanding, and then that divine vision. Prem, what is that Bhagavad Brahma Samhita? Premanjudita Bhakti Velochanena, Sandat Sadaiva Hridayesu Velokayanti, Yanshaima Sundrama Chincha Gunasurupam, Govindamai Purushantam. When the eyes are smeared with the salve of love. How about that? Love is so simple. I better stop because this is the ecstasy. You know, we can go on for
so
days
beautiful.
and days. Yeah.
Prabhu, one day you should come again and visit us in Harrisburg, and we can have an all night long talk.
We should.
And we could just hear you speak, and we could just
not
have
just
a
me,
wonderful
but you know,
discussion.
just all of us sharing. You know,
Yeah.
we're all realizing Krishna at different levels, and we just should be so happy to hear each other's level of understanding. Even the children are understanding. If we give them the chance to speak, they have lots of thoughts about Krishna. So what you're saying is a nice Krishna Katha, little marathon, just Krishna Katha, reading from Krishna book, reading from the Bhagavatam, and just sharing what we understand together. That would be very beautiful. And a little prasadam, right?
Yes, with cheesecake, I promise.
At the end of the this month, July 30th, Gitanagara is having their Rath Yatra.
Oh, yeah, I know. They just did the Snan Yatra in Philadelphia last week.
Oh, yeah.
Getting ready for that. So wishing you have a wonderful festival. No, thank you for allowing me to be here and to share a little something.
Thank you so much for the nectar, Prabhu. Thank you so much for the nectar, and thank to all the devotees for joining us. And please do join us tomorrow morning for Bhagavatam class with Vishnu Gada Prabhu. Until then, Vanshakapadvyascha, Kripa Sindhuvevacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Haribo, thank you.
Haribol, thank you, Prabhu.
All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Jai Srila Prabhupada.